Available to initiate. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Agri. I will be your moderator for this session. And the reason we are gathered here is all in the preparation of the next generation of water professionals. And it's all about the road to Bali 2024. Now, someone may ask what exactly is happening there, or if it is your first time. It is going to be the 10th World Water Forum, that is 2024. And what is going to happen? It is where all stakeholders are invited to join efforts to find concrete solutions to respond to the water and its related challenges, opportunities, and how young people or young professionals can get into it. And just a short background, that is the issues around water, such as accessibility, such as affordability, efficiency, quality, conservation. These make up one of the 6 major global challenges which has been identified by the United Nations. And the resulting impact of these water challenges on sectors such as food, climate, nature, economy, and health make this thematic focus even more pressing and timely responses justified. And it is on the basis that this webinar has been put together to build capacity and also to have an overview of the opportunities, including policies, as well as sustainable and innovative solutions that we can come up with. So this will be roughly a 1.5 hour Zoom virtual, and it will be amazing because we have 2 powerhouses in the house, Dr. Hammond Sapon Entry, as well as Dr. George Wainana, who are going to dazzle you with intellectual and knowledge impact presentation around their focal topics. So please stay up, stay attentive whilst we delve into it. But before we go to our first speaker, let's have a quick icebreaker. Let's have a quick icebreaker in the form of a poll or survey, which will be initiated by our technical team lead, Kek. So if you are here, please look on your screen, and then we will ask you to solve the first poll. These are short answers on the screen. Please, can you see the poll on your screen? If it's yes, can you see?
Yes, we see it.
Perfect. So the poll questions are there. Kek, do you have to send them a link to access the poll, or they already have access to the poll to answer it?
I believe it should pop up on the screen.
Perfect, perfect. So can everyone please answer the poll, and then we see how the answers is going to look like. Thank you very much. Let's do that in a quick 1 minute, and then we see the wonderful ideas coming. All right, so do I say everyone is done? Do I say everyone is done? All right, so let's give it about 30 seconds more, and then Kek, you can launch the poll afterwards, after 30 seconds. I think we are good to go now. All right, let's see what we got with the answers on the screen. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's see from the question 2, what are your opinions about youth participation in the water sector in Africa and Middle East? And it says what? Youth have a key role to play in addressing the challenges in the water sector, and everyone scored 100%. Wow. Now, here's the interesting thing. The B, youth are playing an active role in the water sector in Africa and Middle East. Strongly agree scored 40%. 40% of us all think that yes, the youth are playing active role. 33% agree. 13% are indifferent, so they are neutral. 7% disagree that youth are playing an active role in the water sector. So 7% disagree. Interesting. And I think when we come to, let me give 2 minutes to those who answered that they are disagree. If 2 people here can just share briefly why they disagree that the youth are not playing an active role. Can we have our first participant to just in a brief tell us why they say the youth are not playing an active role? Before we go to our first speaker, can anyone tell me those who disagree? I'm all ears now. Anyone? 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 Those who selected disagree. This is a safe space, open space that does not discriminate on what you say, whether it's a right answer or wrong answer. So please feel free to share your thoughts. Anyone? All right, okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so for our first presentation, which will be on opportunities in the water sector for youth, we invite first Dr. Hammond Sapon Entry, who will tell us who is he, and then he will go into his presentation on the opportunities in the water sector for youth. We plead with all speakers to please be confined within the allocated time. And if there are extra time left, we can use that for interactive discussions and questions based on the presentation. So this will be more interactive and more participatory. Thank you very much. And let's welcome Dr. Hammond Sapon. Thank you, and over to you, Doc.
All right. Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate the introduction. So if it was yesterday, maybe I wouldn't accept the title doctor because I only graduated yesterday, although I completed the thesis some time ago, but I had my official graduation yesterday. So I'm humbled to take that, and I'm happy to be here to share my perspective. First of all, not to claim to be an expert, but just by privilege to be here today to speak to each and every one of you, and of course to also pick your feedback and input going forward. So my name is Sapon Hammond. I'm originally from Ghana. Before I continue, I should also pay reverence to George. So I happened to school with George. He was my senior, and today I'm happy to share the same platform with him. So as I said, I come from Ghana, and then I did a course in secondary school called general arts. So in general arts, you have options to choose between government, geography, economics, and then literature, elective maths, or religious studies. So I had to go for religious studies and that of geography, government, and economics. And from there, after that, I went to the university where I studied community development. So when I think a year to completion, there was an energy crisis in Ghana where we had like half day of light and half day of darkness. For anyone from Ghana, I think you know the popular term doomsday. So it's an energy crisis where you don't have light throughout the entire 24 hours. It's just rushing in between days and weeks. So I schooled in the northern part of Ghana where there is sunshine almost every part all year round. And then I couldn't understand why in an energy abundant region like the Upper West region, there will still be energy crisis. So out of anger, I started looking into the energy issues in Ghana and realized that it's mainly about policy because we have all the water resources, we have all it takes to generate energy, but we were just not doing enough in terms of policy. So from that, I pursued a master's in energy policy in Algeria. So when I was studying the 2-year program in energy policy, I realized that overall energy in Africa is sourced largely from hydro dams or from water propelled generators. But why is Africa having enough or abundance of water, but yet still energy access and energy poverty is still on the high? So based on that, again, I was angry. I think anytime I'm angry, I get to write a paper or I get to take up a course. So from there, I started writing more about how to bridge water and energy nexus. And that was how my PhD journey started. So I started a PhD, which was originally supposed to be on water, energy, and climate change. However, unfortunately, COVID came in, and then I had Ghana and Niger as case studies, but I couldn't travel to both countries. So I ended up staying in Ireland and doing a full PhD in Ireland on water governance and management. And my case study had to be in Ireland. The question is, why am I telling you all this? This is to tell you that I'm somebody who started with a background which should have just pushed me or directed me to maybe international development or community or social development, but I ended up switching to energy and then finally into water. Is again to tell you that no matter your background or whichever profession or area that you find yourself, you can still find an interesting perspective or connection to water resources. I wouldn't want to go into how much water we have and its accessibility. I'm sure most of you know more about that. So at this point, with the permission of the host, I would like 2 or 3 people to probably tell me which area of interest, of study, or profession that they work in. And maybe we try to do a little bit of exercise to know how we can connect this interest, study, or profession to water resources. Thank you. So just feel free, anyone who wants to just maybe talk about her profession. You can be a lawyer, you can be a hairdresser, be in transport, in any field at all. We just want to see how we can connect water to the dots or to the area in which you are in. And just by chance, if we are all into water resources, that will be much easier for me as well. Yeah. So anyone who wants to share an area of interest. Okay.
Good evening.
Yeah, evening.
Yeah, my name's Ignatius Oselo
Okay.
from Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, I work as a water treatment operator.
Okay.
What we do basically is to treat raw water from the dams and make it potable for consumption by the communities around. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ignatius, if I got, yeah. So you basically already in the water sector, and then just a quick one, if you are treating water. So I once read a paper where there is new research into finding out how we can get minerals, rich minerals from wastewater. So people use a lot of perfumes, roll-ons, and all these product which has little traces of rich minerals. So accumulatively, there is new studies in how to extract minerals from this. So probably you in the treatment side of things, possibly going into the future, if you want to look into research, that would be an interesting place to focus on. So yes, in treatment is a huge thing. So all over Europe, and especially in Africa, where water treatment is not on the higher level, there is still huge opportunities for people to go into research, to set up their own companies, because especially municipalities and district assemblies are struggling on how to treat wastewater or how to deal with their water. So it's a huge area for anyone to venture into. And of course, the profit margins, will not have enough time to discuss it. So I'm glad to know you're already in that field, and it's a good area to be, quite green, and with the propensity to expand and the possibility to grow more into that. Yeah. Any other one? I'm willing to share something brief. Just
Hi. I'm
Yeah.
Ronald Sakaya.
Okay, Ronald.
Ronald from Uganda.
Ronald. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad to be here, but in respect to my area of work, I'm also in water. I'm originally a civil engineer who has also had frustrations like you, and slightly slowly kept on realigning myself until I got into water, and specifically into wastewater treatment. At the moment, I'm doing my PhD in planning of water, sanitation, and solid waste services in small towns. And of course, the interest is to see how these services can be planned together, but also to ensure that we maximize these resources in a way that is energy efficient, but in a way that is accessible by people who are considered to be on the lowest standards of living. So I'm happy that I'm here, and George is one of my mentors. I've been with him wherever he is now, and I hope to keep in touch with him. I'm glad to join with you guys too. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll address, I think I'll pick one last person and then I'll box it all together. Yeah.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Ken Katia. I'm from Mozambique, East Africa. So I had a bachelor degree in applied geologist, and I've been working for IOE as a WASH project assistant. Mainly, I'm working with the IDP, basically in a lot of our countries. So basically, my work is just ensure the water borewell construction, sanitation, latrine, things like this, and hygiene promotion. So I've been conduct all of these operations. So thank you, and really appreciate the conference, and I'm expecting a lot, and as well as to sharing at such a point in terms of the experience, and not only. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think just to be fair, I'm sure we have ladies here, so I would like to pick one last comment from a female just to balance the equation here. So any female, please feel free to just come up and tell us something that you're doing.
Hi, I am audible. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I am Jennifer. I'm from the Philippines. I am just wondering if I am the only uh, participant from Asia, or am I actually lost? Is this exclusive for Africa?
No.
It's okay.
To the best of my knowledge, is open to everyone, and we are happy possibly to have you here.
Yeah, good evening. It's 11:21 p.m. here. It's almost midnight. Okay, so I am a lawyer by profession, but I am with a water utility. I just graduated also my master's in water management and governance. I have studied my thesis about international water law, and I'm particularly examining it in the perspective of an earth system law.
That is quite interesting. So just to start from the last speaker, so law and water resources are a huge thing, especially looking at transboundary water diplomacy and resources. And then if you take countries like the Netherlands and IHE, I'm sure they run a lot of international courses in this area. So for us as young people, possibly taking up legal studies, you could also check the water aspect of legal studies, which is a very good area to focus on. I think one speaker also spoke about geology, which are all quite good. So you know, we say that water runs the world, and for every course, for every profession that you are in, you need water. I don't know, whatever you do that does not require water. So it means if you are a lawyer, if you are, I don't know which profession to even, whatever you are, you can still find connections to that. And especially, I don't know how many women are here, but for women, like Jennifer, who is already finishing a master's, I think looking into water diplomacy going forward will be very interesting. And then I'm always advocating for more women, or for that matter, gender into water resources, because it is key to the successful management and governance of water resources. And for many young Africans like myself, where we think politicians are always supposed to make laws. No, that's not the case. Politicians are supposed to care about the environment. So can we now have treatment specialists, engineers here who also go into politics and have a strong emphasis or even bias towards water resources and the environment? These are the kind of things we're looking forward from our youth. And to say again, I think the other speaker also mentioned trying to bridge in energy, which is very key. So we don't use one eye on only water, or emphasize on only water. We can look at the ecosystem where we connect water to climate change, to gender, to energy. And by so doing, that is how we can have a sustainable Africa continent, or sustainable Asia, Philippine, or wherever you're coming or joining us from. So it's a broad area. For the purposes of time, I wouldn't want to bore you more, but just to encourage you that whichever background that you have, and for whatever reason that you joined this webinar today, you can still connect the dots using water, and there is a big or huge prospects or opportunities. If you are maybe into NGO, last time I spoke in a similar event, somebody said she was working in the NGO and didn't know how to connect it to water. So there are a lot of NGOs that are already working in the water sector. Mostly they are looking into wash project, but it goes beyond wash project. Even disaster relief is hugely linked to water resources. So you don't necessarily have to align yourself to a wash project or concept before you can really go into that angle. People are also into construction. So construction demands a lot of water. Manufacturing, all these areas have strong usage of water. Road construction, building, farming, of course, that's even obvious. So with all these sectors, if you are a hairdresser, you need a lot of water, clean water actually. Even if you're a cook, you are whatever. All these areas have strong emphasis on water. If you are into regulation or compliance, litigation, of course, the lawyers, as I mentioned earlier, you need to connect the dot. And by so doing, we can have a lot of young professionals taking up key roles at the UN and other places. So recently, I worked briefly in the Netherlands, and I had the opportunity to work with the Dutch water envoy. And then he keeps saying a lot of young people primarily are not interested in water for reasons he cannot think about, because we always speak of climate change and we forget its linkage to water. So as we look at the climate crisis, how can we solve it using water as a standpoint for us? So this is a question or something I would like us to think about, that if we are talking about climate change, which has water embedded in it, in our various capacities, how can we contribute to climate resilience using water as a springboard for us? On this note, I would like to end here, and then I'll still be looking forward to questions and comment and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sapon. Very short but impactful delivery, and we really appreciate how you coined the whole interactive presentation. And your beginning really was very, very intriguing when you said the issues of your country led you to pursue an education and specialty in water governance. So this you have put something out there for these young professionals. And what is that? It means that we can't just sit down and keep shouting, we are change makers, we are young leaders, without doing anything. You saw the issues that were happening. What did you do? You went in for the skill set, both knowledge and practical, that can now give you that leverage to solve the issues on the ground. So I think we rather have to thank you for this decision you have made, as it also serves as a positive note for these young people to be like, okay, we keep talking about water crisis. Okay, let's do social media campaign and we get 1,000 likes, and then we sit down and clap our hands. The likes have been gotten, but the solution has not translated in the community. So what Dr. Sapon have made us realize is, before you can be a solution provider, you have to change yourself. And by changing yourself means that you have to be in the problem to know what it is. Then, based on that, you can find the solution. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapon, for this. And one statement you also made, I said, you do not need to align with one sector or scope before you engage, advocate, and contribute to the importance of water-related opportunities. And this is so powerful. I did agric. I did BSc agriculture, but now I have about 4 or 5 specialties because the agric is not enough. The agric alone is not enough. It is a combination of other sectors. I did investment banking because young people cannot even find how to connect projects to financing. So with this, I become a solution provider. So what Dr. Sapon is trying to let us know, that when you see a problem, ask yourself, what can I do with my immediate surroundings, with my external sources, with the broader scope of education, as well as resources, to be a solution provider, so that we can use water as a springboard, in his own words, as a springboard. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapon, for that. If there are any, yes, please.
John, just
yes.
Last thing, sorry to interject. So
Please,
you're talking about social media. So I'm just about typing a comment. So my university in Ireland just had a huge funding from the EU. Guess what they are going to do? They are looking at how TikTok can help promote water governance and management. So for many of us gathered here who use TikTok, YouTube, you can just have a page where you talk about how to treat water in the house, putting lemon in water and boiling it, and you get in views. This is original content. This is educative content. And now there's even PhDs coming on these lines. So don't just use social media because you have to use it. You can still connect it to water resources, and then try to educate your community, your region, your country, and then go more into research. It just came up, sorry to bring it up, because you just mentioned social media, and I just decided to chip in that. So I'm posting the name of the institute. If anyone is interested, keep an eye on their website, especially on LinkedIn. They are going to post, I think, about 3 positions, and I'm sure some of you, I'll be happy to see someone from this event make it to the selection stages. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Our technical team will also pick it up and then broadcast it across to all participants and others to get access to this opportunity. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapon. All right, people, you heard it, you've seen it. and you've experienced it. If you have any question, please feel free and let us hear you. I will be happy to pick one or two questions for Dr. Sapon. Is anyone here with a question? Or if you want to wait till the main Q&A session, that would be fine. But if you are here and you want to ask a quick one, please raise your hand and then we will put you through. Thank you. Anyone? Anyone? All right, okay, so maybe others are putting together their questions. We will move on to our next speaker, Dr. George Wainaina, who's going to talk on resources available for building youth capacities in water and harnessing opportunities. So, Doctor, please, if you are here, the floor and the participants are ready for you. Thank you, and over.
Thank you very much, John, and it's great to hear you pronounce my name correctly, the second one. So sometimes people get problems pronouncing it for some reason. I'm also happy to share the stage with Dr. Hammond, and it's good to see how far you've come and the steps that you've taken since we were together at Powers sometimes back. I'm also happy to see a few faces of people I mentor here. I always keep track of them, and when I'm in an event and they don't show up, I question them, because then this is also an opportunity for them to network. And what I'm going to talk about today is heavily bent on networking. So my name is George Wainaina, and when I'm not talking about water, I'm researching about water. When I'm not researching about water, I'm consulting about water. My background is in water and environmental engineering in my undergraduate. I did a master's in water policy and a PhD in sustainability transitions and innovations management. Basically, I'm a technical person, a policy person, and a social science person in one. And this is one of the skill sets that enable me to be in the position that I hold right now in my organization. I will talk about that a bit more later. But just to mention, I come from Kenya. And indeed, to me, water came very naturally because of course, of either the challenges that we could have getting water, or the fact that I felt it was the work of God to provide people water, not necessarily doing it for the money, but specifically doing it because when you enable people to have water, then you're really saving lives in the real sense. When you enable people to have sanitation, you're saving lives. So you're doing something bigger than the money. I have a short presentation because I want anybody who attended to get out of the session with something. And in this case, I hope John or Kak, you will distribute the presentation afterwards. But I'll just go ahead and then say a few things about resources for building youth capacities in water and harnessing opportunities. So I work at an institute called IAWAG. IAWAG is based in Switzerland, and it is a Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Sciences, and I'm supported by the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation, and I'm a scientific knowledge broker. Every time I mention that, people ask me who is a scientific knowledge broker. So if in case people don't know, they will ask that in the Q&A session. But for now, let's focus on resources for building youth capacities in water and harnessing opportunities. Again, I will say this is not a topic of expertise, but a topic from experience, and a lot of things that I'm going to share here are not research findings, but rather there are things that I have used along in life, or things that I would have told my younger self if I had the opportunity to follow up on. So when I was given this topic, I thought, yeah, it's one statement, but it's actually three things. The first one is really thinking about what are the resources for building youth capacities in water professions. What are the resources for finding opportunities in the water profession? And how do we harness these resources and opportunities in the water sector? And this is how I arranged this presentation, because I believe that these are three distinct things that I think we should all keep in mind throughout the presentation. So to kick us off, let's first understand what are resources really. When we talk of resources, do we know what we mean? Or is it another buzzword that we assume we know about it, but really not? With resources, I want to imply time, technology available to us, the human beings we have access to, the places where we are at, and the financial aspects of our lives. And with capacity, I mean the skills, instincts, abilities, and processes. So this is in relation to the water sector. And so any resource that I'm going to touch will either be looking at either of these and improving the capacity of a youth in the water sector. In my understanding, a youth would be an early career professional or someone who is still doing their master's, as we have had, someone who recently completed, someone doing their undergraduate or almost completing. So this is the bracket that this information is really useful for. But not only them, but these are also skills to approach life with, in essence. And I'm sure everybody can pick something out of this despite the age group. Now, when we talk about resources for building youth capacities, I think about these listed here, and they're the ones that came into my mind. The first one is massive online open courses, and I'm going to talk about this in details and give you examples. The second one is conferences and webinars. There's also specialist platforms and associations. There's one-on-one exchanges, internships, fellowships, and attachments, and incubation centers. If you look at these, they talk about either you developing knowledge about something, or either you meeting someone else, or either you starting your own business and developing it. Those are the three perspectives that these resources should be able to guide you towards. Now, starting off with the MOOCs, the massive online open courses. So these are courses that are offered by organizations covering a specific topic which probably research has realized that there's a gap and probably it's not being covered in the main curricula. For example, non-seaward sanitation, as an example, has not been covered so much in curriculums. So you find very many or several online open courses about it, which you can do in 2 months and finish and get a certificate. So they are very sector specific, and often they are free. And where they are not free, it's only the certificate you pay for, but you can actually get the knowledge, finish the course and not get a certificate. But the idea here is to get the knowledge, not necessarily the certificate. If you have a few shillings or dollars, then you can still get a certificate. But some of these courses, you can even learn them on YouTube. They're out there on YouTube. And as Hammond was talking about social media, I'll also talk about it a lot because it's a very useful tool to learn and get opportunities. So examples include where I work, we have online courses which are free to attend on drinking water, sanitation, and solid waste. IRC, which is an NGO, also has an e-learning platform on WASH systems. So this is the nexus between water, sanitation, and hygiene. Then there is a climate change and inclusive WASH online course by Technical University of Sydney. And there are many others. You just have to know how to look for them. And this is a topic this is a section of this presentation that I'll cover, how to look for these opportunities. So these are just 3 examples that I'm giving, and I'll go give 3 examples for everything I'll talk about, because there are also so many out there that you can just search for. And because I'm going to teach you how to search for them, I don't have to show you all of them. Then you have conferences, trade fairs, and webinars. Now, these provide new sector knowledge and tentative future directions. For example, last week, we had the UNC Water Conference. It's the University of North Carolina Water and Health Conference. And this is a conference where researchers and practitioners meet and discuss current and future water challenges. And you have very successful people or very authoritative people speaking in these conferences, especially at plenaries. For instance, they had a senior person from World Bank talking about the future of water in terms of climate change and such. You also get to learn new information. For instance, next year we will be expecting a report from the World Bank about climate and sanitation. So this is new information which is useful for you as a youth, because then it gives you some direction of what you should be preparing for, because people like World Bank are the biggest funders of water and sanitation issues. So if they say something, most likely you should be a few meters ahead of them and try to anticipate what it will be and head in that direction to some extent. These conferences are usually free to attend, the online version. If you don't have the money to go offline and go to North Carolina, you can attend the online one, which is free. Right now, they already have sessions on YouTube and on Zoom, which you could go and watch. The idea is to get the knowledge, get the future direction, and get to know who is presenting about what. And if you have mutual interest with them, get in touch with them and talk to them directly. So they're very good also for networking and finding potential mentors. So examples is, I'm giving a good example, the UNC, you have the Stockholm World Water Week, you have IWA and AFWASA Congress. So the IWA one, there's one in Kigali in December. There's also an AMCAO conference happening in Namibia, I think next week. So there are a lot of even national level conferences that you could attend and get to meet people and learn about the direction of the sector. Then you have specialist platforms. So these discuss sector issues. Good example is LinkedIn groups. For instance, if you go to LinkedIn and just join the group called Rural Water Supply Network, if you are in the water sector and you're dealing with rural water supply, there's a lot of information there to learn, and there's a lot of professionals for you to meet there. Then there are platforms for young water professionals like the Swiss Water Partnership, AFWASA, IWA, Global Water Partnership. These are free to join, and you can go there and network with fellow youth professionals. Then you have other sector-focused platforms like the Water Network, and anything underlined has a link. So if you receive the PDF, you just click and it will take you there. Then there's also Nexus platforms like Susanna and Sunny Hub, which talk about the link between water and sanitation, or others, water and climate change, or others that talk about the Nexus areas. But they are there out there. And as a professional, you need to learn how to exploit these kind of free opportunities to meet key sector experts. Then we have internships, fellowships, and attachments. These are good for practical learning, and I know some of you maybe are already in them or have experienced them. You just have to know which organizations provide them and at what time in the year. Then the examples would include industry internships, where you can directly email organizations or respond to adverts for internships. At my organization, we have a fellowship we call the EPP, where people can come and do research for 3 months. So that's an open opportunity. There's also the Young Water Fellowship. These fund research stays and help you or mentor you to become better. Then there's also travel awards to go to conferences. So if you want to go to a conference, then you can apply for travel awards. They pay for you, you go there, meet the people, talk to them in person. We also have incubation centers. These are for people who have ideas that feel could be turned into businesses, but focusing on wash. So of course, also with them, they They come at different times of the year, and there are different kinds of incubation centers. Some help you scale your businesses. Others help you develop your ideas. So look for one. If you have an idea, go then present your idea. And don't think that presenting your idea is going to be stolen. Nobody is stealing your idea. In fact, probably someone has the same idea. The only difference is that they have not started working on it. So you are a step ahead, go work on it. So examples include CWAS. You have climate innovation centers in different countries, among others. These are there online. And as I said, I'll only give 3 examples, and then I'll show you how to search for them, for the rest. The other one, which is very important, is the one-on-one exchanges. These are good for knowing more details about specific interests. For instance, if you notice that Hammond is in a sector that you want to be in, then he's the best person to talk to because he's not very far away from you. He's probably 3 or 4 years ahead, as opposed to talking with someone who is 30 years ahead. They have a very different perspective. Picture it this way: when you are in class 5, you always wanted to be in class 6, not in secondary school. And it's very difficult also for you to visualize. It is important to visualize what will be there 30 years ahead, but it is very difficult to visualize it in detail. So, but it's very easy to visualize the next 2-3 years of your life. So talk to people who are a few years ahead of you. Have clear questions. Don't waste people's time. People are really busy. What can be a message on WhatsApp should not be a meeting or should not be a 30-minute call. Take opportunities as they come up whenever and wherever, and then follow and engage subject and thought readers. Where are subject and thought readers? They are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most interesting platform you could go and see people talk about professions. And if you want to become a professional, then you should be on LinkedIn and active, not just watching, but active. And that's where thought leaders are. Follow them, comment on their articles, ask them questions directly. They're happy to answer. Then the second part of the presentation, how do you find all these opportunities? And your first friend is search engines. This can be Google or other examples, but I'll give examples with Google. Google has a way of searching that uses Boolean operators. So Boolean operators, they help you in making your findings precise. Let me give you an example. If you wanted to search results that give you water and sanitation or water and climate change, and then you type in water and then you put and in capital and then climate change, it will give you any document or any result that has both water and climate change in it. So you are more precise instead of searching for water alone and then looking for climate change and trying to connect. So that's Boolean. If you put water or climate change, it will give you all documents that either have water or climate change with them or findings. So learn how to search. Google is not just about typing one word. With the link that is referred here, it takes you to a university, which actually has a one-pager and a course about how to search on Google. And this goes to how to search on LinkedIn also. LinkedIn is much more powerful because then LinkedIn tells you a person, where they work, their name, their title, what they like talking about, where they are. It tells you a lot of things. It can even give you the topical issues that are happening. So learn how to use search on LinkedIn using Boolean algebra, and you can learn about literally anything in one day. Set alerts on Google. Google has a function for setting alerts. So when you know what you want to search on using Boolean operators, can you put that search term and then set up a Google alert such that when that search term appears on anything on Google, they send it directly to your email and you can have a look at it. The other tool you need to know about is Google Trends. Google Trends tells you what people are talking about within your sector. Just go to Google and then type in Google Trends and then go there and play with it. Just play with it and see what it can give you. Play with it with topics you want to follow and think about it. Then the other thing is to selectively subscribe to newsletters. I run a newsletter, which I call Prep for WASH on LinkedIn, and we talk a lot about WASH systems, WASH, and other issues, and systems thinking. And there's almost 2,000, more than 2,000 people who follow that, and they specifically say, yes, this is an interesting topic, let's continue talking about it. So follow newsletters of people, thought readers, and of organizations in the sectors that you have an interest in. Now, how do we take advantage of these opportunities? So there's 4 steps to this. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, you need to do is, and you take your time and establish the trajectory of your career. Where do you want to go in the next 10 years? Where do you want to be? 10 years is good to visualize. Where do you want to be? So take your time after you realize where you want to be, and this should be informed by conferences mostly. Look at the titles of conferences. Most of them are talking about climate resilient sanitation or climate resilient infrastructure. Others are talking about decentralization. Others are talking about non-seaward sanitation. Look at the titles of conferences and look at the programs of conferences. They will tell you the right direction to move from now, because those conferences, they talk about the things that are very current right now. After you know where you are, establish where your skills will be most relevant now and in the future, and then use technology. I've told you about searching. There's ChatGPT, there's AI, there's a lot of resources out there for you that are technology oriented that can help you learn a thing or two. Other resources technologically that can help you network. Other technologies that can help you find gaps and opportunities. When you find the gaps and opportunities and you understand where you are and where you want to go, then fill those gaps and opportunities, and don't forget to talk about it. Go on LinkedIn, talk about it, make mistakes, learn, talk about it some more, make mistakes, learn. People are very helpful. They are willing to tell you when you're wrong. You just have to understand how to take in criticism properly. At the end of the day, you should be able to ask yourself the following questions. What point are you in your profession, and what's the direction that you want to take? And how best can you use the time you have now? Let's say you don't have a job. So what you have is time. If you are approaching me as a senior professional, I do not have time, but you have time. That should be your exchange value, what I don't have. And then I'm able to give you my ears or my attention at that point. So know what you have then and use it. The second thing is technologies. Think about what opportunities technology gives you, and specifically social media. Either way, you are on one of the social medias. Use them properly. Look at YouTube. If you wanted to learn anything and just Google how to drill a borehole on YouTube, don't even Google. Go to YouTube search and type how to drill a borehole. It will give you all the procedures that you need to know. So learning is everywhere, and there's information out there for you. Then the people, humans, who should I network with and why? Everybody has potential to help you in one way or another. Just think about how can they help me and what can I give them. Do not engage in parasitic relationships where you are only asking for things and not providing anything. Then the place, where am I? If you are in Kenya, then you are the Kenyan expert. Know all there is to know about water, so that anybody from out there can come to you. And if you see someone else doing something and you really feel this is not the right thing, because you are the expert, question them and give them direction. That's how you add value, by being the context expert. Then finances. Think about what financial resources are available and what doesn't need finances. That's why I put in finances as the last thing, because everybody here has internet because you're on Zoom, and everybody here can access Google, can access LinkedIn, can access YouTube. So it's not really a money issue. You could be, I think the last time I paid for school was in my undergraduate, and I probably think it's the same case with Hammond and many others. And from then on, you are able to think about how can I get scholarships, how can I get fellowships, how can I get funding for my startup, how can I write proposals for an NGO that I want to start. Think in that dimension, and you will realize that money is the last thing you need for anything, because the people who have money want ideas. So when you're approaching people with money, they want to hear, what do you have to offer? Do you have a good idea? If not, then you're not engaging really. So my takeaways for this session, just before I finish, if you didn't get anything from this session, just have these 4 things in mind. Number 1, take initiative. Use what you have. Use the resources you have. So taking initiative is just starting. From wherever you are, start. Then use the resources you have available. And we said money should not be an excuse because you're on Zoom. So you have internet and you have a device to access information and the relevant platforms to access them from. Then engage professionals productively. And here my big question would be, are you on LinkedIn? If you're not, are you then a professional? Because that's where all professionals are, ideally. If not all, quite a big number who you will likely work for or are already working for. And then with this, now go make a change as an emerging water professional. I'd like to also share 3 more information pieces that are related to this. For those who are already practicing in the WASH sector, there's a list of tools for practitioners and it's linked in the PDF. There's also a post that we discussed, there's a discussion we did on LinkedIn, which was about how to engage senior professionals and researchers. This will help you know how to do it, rather than sending them messages and then they don't end up replying to you. So just go read a bit about it. This is your assignment, unfortunately. And then the 3rd one is how to get most out of conferences, whether attending or not. That's also a post, it's an article on LinkedIn, which is really useful for you to learn, whether you go on conferences or not, what's really happening in the sector that you're in. With all that, I'm really thankful for the opportunity. And if you might want to connect on LinkedIn, you can just scan this. And if you want to know the department where I work in, you can scan the other website. And of course, you will get all this. You'll get all this in the from Agri, I guess. So should be okay. Otherwise, thanks a lot, and I'm happy to receive questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wainaina. Amazing, amazing presentation. Can you agree with me that this is loaded? I think loaded is an understatement. And we really need this presentation to be sent out as a gift to all the participants, because it has practically everything you need in connecting with young organizations into the water space, UN organizations in the water space. It gives you tidbits on water conferences and all that. And I fully agree with you, Dr. George, because you say we need to blend experiences with life scenarios. And looking at the things, you put the time, resource, technology, conferences, webinars, like what we are doing. If you want to be in the space, you cannot be an island. And it is true that you need to take initiatives. So this presentation, I mean, after this, we will find a way to share with all of you, because it has so much loaded information you can profit from. Either you want to be an advocate or a professional or a blend of both. So thank you so much, Dr. George, for this detailed package, and we will make sure we send it across to everyone to benefit from this wealth of information. God bless you so much. All right, so please, if you have any question for our speakers, please, this is the time that we would want you to open up, and then let us hear your questions. Let me check the chats if there are some questions that maybe you are feeling shy and you'd want to put your question in the chat. Please feel free to do so. There are no questions here, but before we come back to the questions, let's do one round of survey based on all that we've been able to reach for now. So Kek, are we ready to release our second poll?
Yeah.
Perfect. Please go ahead with the polling. All right, folks, so please look on your screen. There is a second poll on your screen. Please, let's answer it, and then we see how best we go. You have 2 minutes, and then we will wrap it up on the second poll. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, so out of 17, out of 33 of us here, only 17 have answered. The rest, what are you waiting for? Please, I want to see us all take part in the polling. Let me give it 1 more minute, and then we see how the answers looks like. Please, we need you all to participate, because this is what drives policies. This is what drives decisions. This is what drives us making our case on what we need and what needs to be done. So please take part and share your thoughts. Thank you very much. 1 more minute, and then we are good to go. All right, so I think here Tech can push our results, and then we see how it goes. All right, so can you all see the screen? This is our second poll. In your opinion, what are the challenges in the water sector that confront youth in Africa and Middle East? So we have lack of education, We got about strongly agree and agree almost at par, 45, 41%. And then sanitation and hygiene. Also, we got those strongly agreeing 45, and those two agreed at 55. That is almost close. And then for natural disaster hazards, floods, we got strongly agree at half, that is 50%, and those who agree at 27. Also those who showed indifference and no opinion at close at 23%. When we look at youth unemployment and lack of opportunities, that scored a whopping 77 strongly agree. That means that this is one of the critical issues, that is youth unemployment and lack of opportunity. I think based on this second poll comes in mind with these questions. So there is one question here I will put to our two speakers. How best can young people harness these opportunities available? This is the first question that has been put forth. It says, how best can young people harness the opportunities available? So which of our speakers would want to pick up this question for our participants? Wait, okay.
Well, I think one of the things is what George just said, that we just have to plan what we want to do in the next 5-10 years. So when you have a plan of what you want to do, then it motivates you and keep you going. And I think another personal experience, so I'm not sure George will remember this, but when I first moved to Powers for the masters, I one day walked to his room because he was already having a club on campus, and I spoke to him to learn. So many things sometimes I see that with young people, they don't know how to approach people, how to humble themselves. And sometimes, you might be the director and you still have to go speak to a junior just to have an idea about something. So don't try to judge people by their looks or status before you try to approach them. You see many people walk, you might think they have nothing, and you approach them and they have worth of knowledge to share. So be hungry, if I should put it in simple terms, be hungry for success. And the level of your hunger or how eager you are is determined by what you want to do in the next 2-3 years, 5 years, 4 years. And again, just quickly, I think another thing is, so I have a lot of people who send you a message, oh, I want to apply for a conference, I want to apply for this. And sometimes if you don't respond, then there's that notion that you don't care about me. But it's not about I don't care about you. If you can't simply search for a conference, what are you going to do? So like George is giving all these materials. I know you are going to share it. Everybody is happy now, but people leave this conference and forget about it. And that is where the problems come from. We've all attended programs where we keep hearing this, but we don't do what we hear. So if there's one thing, I'll beg everyone that please, when you get George's slide, I think you should read every slide a day. Don't rush and finish it. Every day, pick one, read, try to follow all that has been said. And maybe a year time, we should have same conference and people should be giving testimonies of what they've done. Thank you.
Amazing. That is very true. And I will want to reiterate that the material George has put together, it should be a water opportunity dictionary, because it has practically everything you need for young people or new water professionals. This could be your to-go guide. And thank you so much again, Hammond, for reiterating that. And I can see also in the chat, Jennifer, Yesaya, Roland, Kenny, Janet are all sending in their praises and gratitude. Thank you so much to our participants who are showing their gratitude in the chat. We really appreciate it. Please, if you have any question, kindly raise your hand and ask our two speakers, unless you are telling me that everything that has been said here, you had it all correct. Then why are you here? So please speak up. And
like
also, yes, come in, George, please come in.
Yeah, I'd like to compliment Hamon's comment and say that on top of that, that's really the main idea of this session, that after this, if you're not on LinkedIn, just go there and sign up. Get out of other networks, just go to LinkedIn and YouTube. I think those are the two networks that are useful for you, and use them productively for now. And then you will go back to the others after you have realized the power you can accomplish with just two networks.
Perfect. Now we have a very strong point here. Says, hello, our two speakers. I am a young WASH professional and I recently joined an NGO. So I would like to hear best knowledge and experience. So these are the two questions. What do you think about the major skill sets or mandatory in the water or WASH sector? And the second question is, what do you think about sustainability of WASH infrastructure and local management committee? This is two strong missiles from Kenny to our two speakers. So over to you, please.
If I could just chime in a bit on top of my head, these are quite context-specific questions to start with, and especially the major skill set. Number one, because we have people from all over Africa and also Asia. So when it comes to skill set, it might get a bit different. But what I would say is that the first degree you get, which introduces you to water, that's really the starting point. And some don't necessarily have to have a degree which is focused in water. Yes, for me, it was water and environmental engineering. That's good. For Hammond, or for you, Agri, it was agriculture. For Hammond, I think it was community development. So that first degree really opens up your mind. And when they give it to you, they say, we have given you the power to read. They don't tell you that you know. They say they have given you the power to read. And this is why I'm saying you have to now go into the sector. For instance, you're in the NGO. If it was in the Kenyan sector, most of the NGOs are doing infrastructure work. So a technical skill set on how to do a bill of quantities, for example, or a skill set on how to understand. If you are an engineer, a skill set of how to understand people. Because I was trained as an engineer, stayed for 5 years, and you need to refresh the fact that you concentrate on very fine details of design and such, and you don't deal with people a lot. So learn how to deal with people, network with them. So there are soft skills and there are hard skills. Of course, the hard skills is the engineering degrees, the accounting degrees, and all that. Because WASH professionals are not just the engineers, it's also the accountants who work in a water utility, or the lawyers who work in a water utility and all that. So you have the core skills and you have the periphery. So just understand in the sector that you're in or in the organization that you're in, can you look at your immediate senior? If you are an assistant project officer, what roles are the project officers doing and which ones interest you? Then move in that direction. If you are, let's say, an assistant engineer or a graduate engineer and you're a consulting engineer, think about what is it that the consulting engineer who is mentoring me doing that I would want to pick out from them and get interested. Ask more questions in that line so that you can grow. So there's no silver bullet on this one skill that you should have. It's really, and this is why I gave you tools to learn, not giving you the fish. I showed you how to fish, basically. And I think this is the most important thing. On number two, what do I think about sustainability of WASH infrastructure and local management committee? So I will start with sustainability of WASH infrastructure. The last 4 years, I did research on basic infrastructure, including water sanitation and what in informal settlements. And the biggest challenge there is that you set up the infrastructure and then within 2 or 3 years, it's destroyed, or it's no longer there, or it's not working. So sustainability-wise, we need to rethink how we do things like, for instance, participation and involvement of the people who are going to use, and also involvement of who is going to be left managing that kind of infrastructure so that it becomes sustainable. And with sustainable, I want to imply it's financial, environmental, and in terms of livelihood for the residents who are there. So that's really the picture. It's about how you implement the infrastructure, not the infrastructure itself. It's how you implement it. That's what really determines whether it will be sustainable or not. About sustainability of local management committees, I think this is an issue of capacity and capability. What capacities do they have to sustain whichever infrastructure you give to them? Do they have the capabilities? Do they have the resources again? Do they even have the time to sustain it? Do they want to do it? I mean, these are all questions then you have to assess. So this is also a very contextual question that comes in the context when you now go to the world of application. And so this would be the best kind of answers I would give. They are not exactly answers, but they are ways of finding the answers in your context. So over to you.
So before we bring both of you in to give your final remarks, your take-home message, I'm going to hand it over to the man behind the scene under whose supervision everything today has materialized, who has guided us to where we are today, our Chief Project Officer, Kek Enu, who will take over with the question and answers and then gets to the finishing line. So Kek, over to you and keep up the good work. And I think there's a question from Ignatius also. Over to you, Kek.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, John. So maybe I quickly go to Ignatius. Please, you can ask the question.
Okay, good evening again. Yeah, my question is just wanted Dr. Sapong to enlighten me more on he talked about extracting some minerals from wastewater that are beneficial. So I wanted to know if it's a technology that is now being done in Africa, and if so, in which countries, and how sustainable, how costly is it to maybe for its installation and the running of such a system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's an emerging trend, I think, across mostly Europe. And then in Africa, I only know one professor from South Africa. He's on top of my head, he's called Jabulani, but I can get you his full name. So basically for waste treatment companies, that is the emerging scope that is coming up. And again, I want to relate it to what George said. If you join this group, these professional groups, that's where you begin to find out the modern trend that is coming up. And unfortunately in Africa, it's too expensive to start implementing some of these technologies. But the advantage you have is if you belong to such group, then you get the idea. That is where you can start an NGO in it, you can start a pressure group, an advocacy group, or you can even decide to do further studies into that. So before people get to know this, probably in your country or where you come from, you're already a lead expert in that. And that can only happen based on the associations you join, based on the things you are reading online. So even in Ireland, where I live, is an emerging trend, and there is no policy by government to even guide it. So it's still emerging. So today you have this information. If you keep searching more, before it comes to Africa, you are now a lead expert in that. And again, that's how young professionals like us are able to consult on different projects, because we join different groups and we always get to know the modern trends of things coming. So on the other hand, I think if you could private me your email address, I'll get it down. I know the professor in South Africa, he's actively looking into it, and with your interest, you can follow up more. Yeah.
Okay,
So I'll
thank you.
just wait for you. Yeah, just text me your email. If you come
On
to the
chat.
chat, then I can pick it up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. And so, do we have any other questions? And maybe a last question also.
Yeah.
Maybe just to also respond to Ignatius, there are also startups also in Switzerland which are doing resource recovery from urine and getting the potassium and calcium, really the minerals out of the urine, which you can also probably follow up on, and this could be interesting for you actually.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe do we have another question before we close? Okay, we have a hand from Kabir. Please, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. I think personally, I'm also much interested in those areas of research. So I would want to request for a follow-up, maybe with email or something that we can actually have something to work around in subsequent times.
Okay. Yeah, I think quickly, if you also follow us on LinkedIn, that will be much more easier. Probably not everyone will get the chance to ask a question, but if you just type my name as you saw on the flyer, you will find me in LinkedIn, and you can always leave me a message. I'll respond within some few days. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hamon. I think we have a question from Pearl. She says, thank you for your presentations. Please, what are some existing data gaps within the wash or water management space?
I don't know if George will come back. So such questions are quite interesting. So Pearl, I think if you follow how to search by George, just key in these questions and you're going to have loads of information. So from where I see the data gaps are a lot, and it depends on what you want to see. So just copy the same question and just follow how to search, and I'm sure you're going to get loads of information. But on top of my head, like I said earlier on, now we are even looking at how to use social media to improve water management. And this is a big thing in Europe. Probably in Africa is not being thought of, but then in Europe now is a huge thing. So from where I sit now, I will say this, but there are a lot more happening. So just do a search and you'll be amazed. And the good thing is you search and get a lot of information. You just have to be honest with yourself that which of these can I do? Probably you don't have engineering, but don't go and force yourself because you saw a project that requires engineering. You saw how much is involved. You want to go do that. You end up being frustrated. Put yourself in an area where you think you can deliver, and then even if there is no salary coming, you get the joy, because there is one thing doing a job and there is one thing deriving joy from it. So search as much as you can and fit yourself into which one that will go for you or you think you can deliver on it. And that is always the way to go, especially for we young professionals. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe to really also push the point home, we really have a gap in localized data. If you look at what WHO, for instance, presents, it's at the national level. So you don't have disaggregated data at the local levels. It's not that it's there, it's that it's not so accessible because you have NGOs working there, but then the data they take, they definitely don't give you. You also have researchers who work there, they take private data, which is also not uniform sometimes. So the data gap is actually in accessing it and having it organized in a sensible way. That's in a sense at the localized level, not at the country level, but at localized level. So if this is something you might want to explore, that would be nice. The other thing, for instance, those working in the water treatment plants, UN Habitat just released a report on global wastewater earlier this year. And the one key thing is that there were a few cities mentioned, which means there's an open gap for other cities to also collect data on wastewater. For example, quality of wastewater, quantities of wastewater, characterization, and all that. So there are data gaps and opportunities to align data that exists or come up with frameworks. So here is where the people in policy come up with frameworks of aligning data that is collected to make sure it's collected in an ethical manner and in a usable manner for everybody and have it in repositories. That's a gap in itself.
Right, thanks so much, George and Hammond. And so because of our time, maybe we could wrap up here. Yeah, our two speakers, I believe they've given us so much resources to, like John was saying, to maybe sit down and perhaps take months to fully digest and absorb all that has been shared. So a very big thank you to everyone, really. And maybe I could say a few things, mention a few names. I just to thank the World Water Council, and because this webinar had been organized as part of preparations towards the 10th World Water Forum, which John mentioned. And the World Water Forum, it's the biggest water forum or the biggest water gathering in the world. And I think the last edition was held in Dakar in Senegal. But next year's will be in Bali in May 2024. And to improve youth inclusion, to advocate for youth in policy and practice, we have these webinars to get ideas, to put together our visions and to present it to the council and to the forum. So thanks so much for joining. John, Steve, and Georgina, I know they are on the call somewhere. They've been very instrumental in the organization. To also George and then Hammond for making time. I know they are very busy, but making the time to share all these experiences with us. And also to yourself for being with us this close to an hour and a half, getting to 2 hours, to staying with us throughout. So a big thank you. Maybe if it's okay, I could come back to our speakers, perhaps 1 or 2 last comments before we wrap up and go. And so maybe George could start.
Thanks very much, Kak. I think Agre mentioned something very nice, that that's actually a water opportunity dictionary. So I think I'm going to rename the presentation to water opportunity dictionary and then share it with you. And then please share it around. Some of these resources that we try to provide is to help everybody. So practice it and share it around. And at the end of the day, remember you have to take initiative. If you don't take initiative, don't expect anything to change, really. That's it.
Right. Thank you.
I also say same that whatever has been shared here should be followed and practiced. And then lastly, to also thank you, Kek, for bringing. I don't know how you got me and George together, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is quite interesting. So thanks for putting this together, and then hopefully we look forward to sharing the same stage in future. Yeah.
Thank you, Hammond. And it's really been a pleasure. It's very interesting. I was very happy to know you know each other too. So very, very good. I share a link in the chat. It's to a WhatsApp page with a lot of people that are interested in the 10th World Water Forum. And so on this page, we share a lot of updates or information on anything related to preparations towards the 10th World Water Forum. So just in case anyone is interested, you can join this WhatsApp group. But we'd also add it to the slides and then key points from Hammond and George's presentation to be disseminated after this webinar. So again, a very big thank you for making the time. A big thank you again to George and Hammond. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend. And see you later. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Mhm.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Goodbye. Thank you.